Guys, welcome back to another VPX video for you. This one is on Time Fantasy from Williams, released in 1983 and designed by Barry Oursler. So this beautiful recreation comes from the VPW team and it looks phenomenal. Lighting, inserts, even the back glass looks awesome, so I'm excited to play it. But before I play it, I want to tell you some interesting things about this table. So this table is kind of rare because only 608 units were made in total. And so you're probably wondering why such a low production number. And I was reading a little bit of information about this table, and the reasons are that during this time there was a high market demand for a relatively low-cost pinball machine. So distributors, places that were, showcasing these machines, they wanted something that they could afford. Because remember, a lot of times pinball machines, even in the early 80s, were really expensive to operate, to own, and to maintain. It was a lot of money, to operate these things, and the return wasn't always the best. That's why not every table always made it in, past a certain amount of production, because you really have to factor in the cost, right? The cost benefit analysis, right? How much are you getting out, right? Vendors are wondering how much they're getting out of it and how much they're putting in. So basically, vendors wanted a low-cost pinball machine that would also have limited playtime. So remember, playtime is also a very important variable in your costs when you're weighing cost-benefit analysis, because the longer you play a table, that means less time to make money, because you pay your 50 cents, 75 cents, and if you're playing for a long time, that means you're losing money, not making money on another person playing. So what the designers and programmers did at Williams for this table was they removed a lot of coils and plasma displays and kind of made this table as simple as possible, so that they could sell it at a low cost, and so that vendors could buy it at a reasonable price, and also they manage the playtime by making it relatively simplistic, right? There's nothing too crazy about it that would keep players playing longer. But when you look at the table, you've got interesting things to kind of extend your playtime. You're looking at a drain post in the middle, which saves the ball, right? You have a keep shooting light insert. So, it didn't really do well. Like, the target audience apparently was for older adults who would go to these venues, and while their kids played like the ticket dispensing machines, the parents would play this, and they found that that's what was happening. That older adults were playing this machine, but the thing is, that's not the people who were playing pinball. It was and the people who were going to arcades, it was mostly teenagers and younger adults. So it didn't really do that well in the earnings reports. They said that one game made over $500 in one location for a week, but it just didn't perform well. So they couldn't, if it's not performing well, and then people and vendors aren't buying the machine, because of that, they're not going to make a lot of units. So that explains why there's only 608 confirmed units. Also interesting is that the back box was the same one they used on Williams Hyperball, which was not even a pinball game, really. It was this kind of weird, like arcade shooting game with like a mechanism to release to shoot like pinballs out. So it was barely pinball, but you'll notice the back box is the same thing, and that also shows how they were trying to make this a relatively cheap machine, a reduced price machine, right? They're using parts from other games, and they're removing coils and plasma displays, and they're just trying to make it relatively low cost. And it says in the notes on IPDB that they made this game in 2 weeks. And let me just quote. It says, the design team was able to complete the game in 2 weeks, which gave us some leeway in getting playfields, artwork, and testing in before production. So that could also be why it didn't do so well. I mean, when you're able to complete a game in 2 weeks, that's actually really fast. So that could also be why it didn't do so well. I mean, not a lot of planning seems to have gone into it. But this was something that Williams needed. I mean, apparently they were going to close down one of their factories, and Williams didn't want to do that, right? Because at this time in the early 80s, Williams was also putting an emphasis on the development of video games as opposed to pinball machines. And people who work on pinball machines are not the same people who are going to be working on the video games. They're two different kinds of skill sets. So you have a certain limitation, right? Different operating systems, the way pinball machines operate and arcade machines. So let's give this a go now. Some of the interesting things I'm noticing is, of course, that horseshoe loop on the right. I like that. You have a lot of lit inserts on the playfield. Actually, kind of too much in my opinion. I mean, look at this. Like the bonus inserts, the bonus lights. You have a lot of lit inserts, which is kind of crazy. Like, you would think that a table that was trying to reduce costs would have less, right? Because each insert is a light, and then you need a coil, and so. But you have a lot of rollovers up at the top, 5. You have a nice little spot target on the top left. You have spot targets on the middle of the left. You have a drain post, so it's very interesting artwork wise. Kind of simple, kind of trippy. Looks like a snail. But the artwork is also kind of minimal, right? It's not too much. So they probably, found ways to lower the cost by not really doing too much on the art either. Oh man, you have the droning sounds here. Oh, this is a beautiful table. Great job by VPW, as always. Oh my gosh, these physics are realistic, I will say that. And fuzzy physics, I believe. No! Are you serious? I was waiting for it to hit the drain post. Let's go again. I love that horseshoe. That was a better game. Also, guys, I want you to think about this, is that when you're thinking about time management, pinball machines that can manage time, you have to wonder, you have to think that some pinball tables, maybe they didn't have extra balls because, having extra balls means, you're getting more time and you're making less money, basically. So that's something to think about. But I hope you enjoyed this video on Time Fantasy. Great work by the team at VPW. Thanks for watching.